Hello everyone, welcome to the Contemporary World subject. In today's discussion, we will focus on Asian regionalism. So for the meantime, let's set aside the other continents of the world. Let's just focus on our mind, the Asian continent. So we all know that our world is divided into not just continents, but also regions. So like for example, Japan, China, Indonesia, Philippines are located at the geographical area of Asia, which is the region. So now, let's start the discussion by defining what is regionalism. What do you mean by regionalism? So from the word itself, region, it can be interpreted as a place, a physical environment, or yung lokasyon. So example, we can determine Asia as a region. Why? Because based on the land and water boundaries surrounding it. So in region, natay region as social system, na po tayo gitawag region as organized system. So unsa lang maning region as social system? Region as social system, just for example, Asian can be determined as a region based on the group of people occupying it and shared ancestry, shared language, and culture these people have. So here, ito yung isang samahan, ito yung isang grupo ng mga tao na meron silang mga shared ancestry, shared language, culture, or meron pagkakapareho. So now, let me ask you, are we all aware that our Filipino language or dialect ay merong pagkakapareho ng tunog sa ibang bansa? Aware ba taani? So, just for example, Philippines. In Philippines, eyes in Tagalog is mata. In Indonesia, it is also pronounced mata. In Malaysia, it is also called mata. In Madagascar, maso. In Samau, mata. In Taiwan, it's mansa. Another word is seven. In Tagalog, it is pito. In Indonesia, it is toju. In Malaysia, it is toju. In Madagascar, it is fetu. In Samau, it is peto. And in Taiwan, it is petyo. The another one is region as organized cooperation. So what do you mean by region as organized cooperation? So for instance, Southeast Asia is a region within the Asia, right? And it has been formalized through memberships in the Association of Southeast Asia Nations or ASEAN. So here, pwede natin tingnan ang region as an organized cooperation. So sa regional cooperation, pwede nating sabihin ang regional cooperation in Southeast Asia is through the ASEAN, which is the Philippines is member of. Ang regions kasi ay iba-iba. So dahil sa pabago-bago ng mundo, mayroon na tinatawag nating global divide, may global north, global south. So although the world globalizing quickly because of technology, so mas napadali na to ang mga butang karon because of the technology like computer, cell phone, or different gadgets. So mayroon ding idea na napatuloy na lumakas ito ang regionalism. If pas-pas ang pag-globalize or kanang we all know that globalization is mostly cooperation or harmony of people around the world. While in regionalism, cooperation is siya within the society or within the area only. So if mula mo ang globalization, mas effective ang ilang pag-cooperate, of course, mas makusgan po ang regionalism which is the-support siya sa globalization, right? So here, natay gitawag o global, meron din tayo tinatawag na region. So for example, diri sa Pilipinas, naatay global issues o naapotay regional na mga issues. So, in regional, ito yung mga nasa sarili nating region lamang or nakafocus sa specific na lugar. While in national, ito yung issue na kinaka-cover lahat ng issue ng ating bansa. So, that is the differences between the regional and national. Alright, so now let's define the word regionalism. So regionalism, this is a form of political powers down lower level of political. Here, malakas ang pagsama-sama ng mga grupo ng mga bansa. Ilabi na kanang mga dugol o magkakapitbahay. So mula sa bahagi ng mundo na iisa ang kinalalagyan ng mga geographic area. So the main goal of regionalism is mapabuti ang kanilang ekonomiya. Sila ay makapagtulungan at to ensure that they share the same goals in a particular area. So ngayon, lumalabas din na ang regionalism, kahit sinasabi na iba na ito ay interconnected, independent, pero yung mga bansa na nasa particular na region ay lumalakas din ang kanilang pag-uugnayan, samahan, trade, or international relation. So diri na atay gitawag og economic development, tapos tay gitawag diri human development. So it talks about mga kalambuan, di ba? So kung tinagsaon unsa man ni economic development. So economic development, yun yung mga bansa na nagbibigay grants upang gamitin ito para sa social services. So, atong gamit ka na uban nga nasod, they give us a grant so that other place or ang uban nga bansa gamiton ni sa social services, for education purposes, o uban pa. Sa mao na siya sa economic development. While in human development, ito yung ang ibang bansa ay nagbibigay ng scholarship para sa mga bansang mahihirap. So, just like us, kita almost students karon na ano yung mga scholarship to support their education. So, ang uban nga bansa nihatag sa scholarship para ang uban nga mga estudyante nga nagkalisod is mapadayon nila ang ilang eskwela. So, that is the two kinds of development, the economic development and human development. So now, let's talk about what is the difference between the regionalization and globalization. Unsa may mga kalahian ani nila. So regionalization, it is a process of dividing an area into smaller segment called region. So as I said a while ago, region matawag na to ang lugar nga region if na siya boundaries between land and water. So next is globalization. Globalization, it is a process by which people in the world are unified into a single society and function together. So muna siya harmony sa mga tao around the world or around the nation. If compare na to siya sa globalization, harmony ni siya sa mga tao within the nation, cooperation. While in regionalism, ga-focus ni sila sa ilang specific or particular nga area. So that is the difference between regionalization and globalization.
Good day everyone, I am Danilo Rodriguez. I will be discussing about about Asian regionalism. What is Asian regionalism? So, what is Asian regionalism? Asian regionalism is a product of economic interaction between Asian countries. Asian regionalism is not on political planning but rather is on economic interaction between Asian countries. So, Asian regionalism is not on political planning but rather is on economic interaction between Asian countries. When we say economic interactions is pakikipag-ugnayan sa ibang country to have connection to each other. And when we say Asian is of course we're referring to the people from Asia or Asian countries. And when we say referring to have relationship or connection to each other, like what I said a while ago, diba? So Asian regionalism is not on economic interaction that focuses on exporting products and to develop country markets. As a result of successful outward-oriented growth strategies of these Asian countries, Asian economies have grown not only richer but also closer together. So, diba? As they say, there are unity in diversity. When we say diversity, it is a combination of our differences that shape our views of the world, our perspective, and our approach. So diversity, it means differences. The example of unity in diversity is the ASEAN, or stand for Association of the Southeast Asian Nation. So why Asia considered the continent of diversity? Okay. That's because people in Asia have different cultures. They have different costumes and traditions. They have different religions and beliefs. They have different governments and many more. So Asian economies have grown larger and more complex. They also have more integrated. Now, in what way? Of course, through trade, financial flows, direct investment, and other form of economic and social exchange. In the recent years, new technological trends have further strengthened ties among them, as have the rise of the China and India and the region's growing weight in the global economy. Nasa yung mga misfortune or pakyas, nasa yung mga difficulties na ilang na-encountered, and one of the difficulties they have encountered is that the 1997 and 1998 financial crisis dealt severed too much of the region, highlighting Asia's shared interests and common vulnerabilities and providing an impetus for regional cooperation. In the early stages of Asia's economies take-off, regional integration proceeded slowly. East Asian economies focus on exporting to develop country markets. So, ang Asian countries is focus sila sa exporting to develop country markets. So, they just focus on exporting of their goods and services rather than selling to each other. Initially, they specialize in simple labor manufacture. The Japanese economist Akamatsu 1962 famously compared this pattern of development to flying geese. In this model, economies move in formation not because they were directly linked to each other, but because they followed similar paths. So, since these development paths hinge on sequential and sometimes competing, they did not initially strong economies link with Asian itself. Now, Asian economies are becoming closely intertwined. So, when we say intertwined is magkaugnay, no? So, magkaugnay na sila. This is not because the region's development strategies has changed. It still remains predominantly non-discriminatory rather than what then is the reason behind this. Interdependence is depending because Asia's economies have grown large and prosperous enough to become important to each other. And because their patterns of productions increasingly depend on networks that span several Asian economies and involve wide-ranging exchanges of parts and components among them.
My name is Jikimli Palomar and I will be the one to discuss about the next concept. We have globalization versus regionalization when it comes to nature, market, cultural relations, aid, and technological advances. So then again, regionalization is the process of dividing an area into smaller segments called regions. For example, katong region sa Region 1, Ilocos Region, Region 2, Cagayan Valley, Region 3, Central Luzon, and so on and so forth. Mga example sa region. So in other hand, ang globalization po is the process by which people in the world are unified into a single society and function together. Like, so katong mga regions, nagitipon sila as one. Na, like Philippines, mo na siya example sa country nga gitipon-tipon mga country, mahimo siyang globalization. And now let us proceed to comparing globalization and regionalization in terms of, first is nature. Globalization promotes the integration of economics across state borders all around the world, but regionalization is precisely the opposite because it is dividing an area into smaller segments. Okay, as clearly stated there, ang globalization is borderless jud siya. When we say borderless, all around the world, ang iyang integration of economics. Well, sa regionalization, opposite siya kay ga-divide man ilang area into smaller segment, silbi mo ra sila ga grupo. So next is as to market. Globalization allows many companies to trade on international level, so it allows free market, but in regionalized system, monopolies are likely to develop. So ipasabot nga sa globalization na ay free market nga gitawag. So meaning na ay free market man there are a lot of kompetensya. O, daghang kompetensya sila nga gi-allow and more cooperation po na gi-allow nga mo trade international. Kung moadto tas regional system, monopolies are likely to develop. When we say monopolies in economics, usara ka producer ang nag-control sa supply or goods and services. Meaning, wala sila ka-kompetensya, gasuloy sila baligya ana nga products. Alright, the third one, let us compare and contrast cultural and societal relation when it comes to globalization and regionalization. So, sa globalization, accelerates to multiculturalism by free and expansive movement of people, but regionalization does not support. Alright, sa globalization, when we say multiculturalism, it's the view that culture or mga lahi, ethnicities, particular sa mga minority group, special ang ilang acknowledgement ng ilang differences sa political culture maging sa equal rights. On the other hand po, sa regionalization is opposite siya sa globalization which dili sila mo suporta or mo acknowledge sa multiculturalism kaya ang ilang gi-priority man is ilang own ethnicities and culture. Kaya unsaon na magmutipon pud sila sa uban nga culture and traditions, di ba? Dili nato ma-identify ug unsalon jud ilang culture or traditions. The fourth one is as to aid. Globalized international community is also more willing to come to the aid of the countries stricken by a natural disaster, but a regionalized system does not get involved in the affairs of the area. So sa globalization, willing sila mo help like financial aid sa ilang lain-laing bansa nga nag-suffer or nakasulay og natural disaster like mga nabahaan, nasunugan, and many more. Whereas sa regionalization, dili sila manghilabot sa ubang region and dili sila mo offer og aid or tabang sila dili nila na i-priority nga abi kay naay nagkinahanglan nga bansa is ilan ang kabubuton nga tabangan. So kabubuton nas government sa global or bansa. The last one is as to technological advances. Globalization has driven great advances in technology, but advanced technology is rarely available in one country or region. Therefore, sa globalization guys, may advances na gitawag, advancements sa technology kay go-work man ang different country and regions as a whole or as one. But sa regionalization is walay advances sa technology ang gitawag kay dili man na nila mahimo if dili sila ra like wala ka partner ang mga dagkong nasod and many more. So that's all about globalization and regionalization when it comes to nature, market, societal relations, aid, and technological advances. Now let us proceed to the next reporter.
Good day everyone, I am Quincy Sarah Palomar and I'm going to talk about the factors leading to the greater integration of the Asian region. So we have here the word regional integration. It is a process in which neighboring states enter into an agreement in order to upgrade cooperation through common institution and rules. So meaning we have to integrate, to cooperate between countries in order to agree and work closely together as one to achieve peace, stability, and wealth. So many people ask, why do our country need to enter into an agreement in order to upgrade cooperation in terms of business and negotiation, for the reason that to help other people and of course other nations or countries to overcome divisions, to prevent the progress of the flow of the goods, services, capitals, and of course the people, to strengthen the relationship and the mutual benefits of the two nations or the other nations. Just like in business, we have to have a partnership to work effectively. The objective of the agreement can range from economic to political to environmental, although it has typically taken form of political economy initiative. So in this part, kanilang focus ay ang commercial interest for pursuing a social, political, and security of objectives. For example, marketing, goods that you can purchase or you can buy, services like distributing the healthcare for the citizens and government beneficiaries. Regional integration has been organized either via supranational, institutional, or through decision making, or a combination of both. So, how do we define supranational institutional? Ito ay ang organisasyon na nag-provide ng paraan to set international rules, governing the affairs of nations with an eye preventing conflict, and they are the ones na nag-hold og power over state affairs to avoid confrontation and pagtulong-tulong sa ekonomiya. Intra-regional trade. It refers to the trade which focuses on economic exchange primarily between countries of the same region or economic zone. So basically, nandito ang trade o exchange sa kanilang mga produkto or mga kalakalan between countries na same of region, for example, ang ASEAN region like Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, at iba pa na nabilong sa Southeast Asian region. If when trade happens sa loob ng specific region, therefore, mayroong intra-regional trade na nangyari at na makabenefit and grow sa economic zone as well. In recent years, countries within economic trade regimes such as ASEAN in Southeast Asia, for example, have increased the level of trade and commodity exchange between themselves, which reduces the inflations and tariff barriers associated with foreign markets, resulting in growing prosperity. Then there are three factors leading to the greater integration of the Asian region as follow. We have the trade. In ancient times, region of Asia had commercial relations among themselves, as well with the parts of Europe and Africa, traded over considerable distances using barter as the medium of exchange. So in ancient times, people trade their products back then, even up to this day. Just like what our president did, he saw how significant and important the expansion in rice and corn production, as well as in the livestock. Kay we all know in Luzon area, they produce of rice. Then in the Visayas region, we produce sugar cane, and in the Mindanao area, they produce coconuts and oil. So when it comes to products, pwede natin ma-import and export ang mga produkto sa Pilipinas sa ibang bansa. Same as other countries, especially in developing countries. They also import and export their products to our country. Second is the similar culture. The culture of Asia is diverse, but they do share many things. This makes it an easier fit during times of negotiation. So since they do share common things, of course, they also have similar culture, but different traditions. However, sa similarities sa ila culture, they easily work effectively and respectfully. They are easily understand each other when it comes to business and trade. Although, hindi tayo pareha sa kanilang government rules, but still, our bond remains. Since people in Asia are diverse, we are more flexible when it comes to negotiations. 3. Common goals. The Asian region recognizes the mutual benefits of a slow integration. Their purpose and common goals is to promote economic and cultural exchange among its members, just like the ASEAN nations, to maintain peace, stability in Southeast Asia, and establish relationship with foreign powers, with similar aims as well, sama ng to survive, sustain, and profit. So, of course, there are the most prominent and enduring organizations that emerged in Asian region. We have the ASEAN, which is the Association of Southeast Asia. The countries that belong in the ASEAN regions are the Brunei, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Cambodia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines, Myanmar, and Laos. Then, EAC, which is the East Asian Community, and the APEC, which is the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. We have the APT, the Asia Plus 3, the EHS, which is the East Asian Summit, the APC, which is the Asia Pacific Community. So that's all. Thank you.
What is Asian regionalism and how does it work? As a result, according to definition, Asian regionalism is a result of economic interaction rather than deliberate political planning. As a result, the economic component is one of the most important concerns as it will result in more work opportunities for its citizens. So Asian regionalism examines the fast-paced economic development of Asia, the stability of the financial system, and regional economic integration. It focuses on the interaction between ideas and politics. The advancement of Asia has significantly improved people's lives. The majority of Asian economics or the Asian economies have reduced poverty with remarkable success.
Good day everyone, I am Narjit Palomar and I am here to discuss what is the significance of Asian regionalism into the world economy. What is the significance of Asian regionalism in the world economy? Asian regionalism is characterized by non-discriminatory and outward-oriented approach that allows its members to thrive in the global economy. Asian regionalism is therefore essential in the world economy because it promotes free trade, improves economic conditions, paves the way for the creations of employment opportunities, and most importantly, it develops economic policies that serves the interest of the entire region and advance economic progress. Asian economies have grown larger and rich enough to be considered indispensable in the world economy as a result of the Asian economic integration process. It is impossible to ignore the fact that Asian countries are thriving in terms of economic conditions and also in terms of implementing measurements that will eradicate or at the very least mitigate the effects of global warming. In the long-term cycle of poverty in Asia has been deteriorating as a result of the increased number of work possibilities that have been created, as well as the ability of people to live a life that met the basic necessities on a daily basis.
The positive effects and negative effects of Asian regionalism. Regionalism has a positive impact on competition and market expansion due to the effect of declining costs leading to the existing supply of cheaper goods. The negative impact of regionalism, it can have but any deflation of trade when originally cheaper foreign imports are replaced by more expensive domestic production. Benefits of Asian regionalism in the Philippines. First, lower cost living. The ASEAN Economic Community wants to eliminate, if not lessen, the taxes exporting between countries, which will lower the prices of goods. 2. Improve job opportunities and general well-being. The exchange of free information and skills is essential to this development of the ASEAN Charter. Nationals can work abroad, increasing productivity, thus more job opportunities for the overseas Filipino workers. 3. Less hassles in traveling. ASEAN integration has made it possible to travel to other countries, and in the process tourism has grown exponentially. 4. Philippines' prosperity. With the full integration of the ASEAN countries, investment services, jobs, skills, and the market would enable the Philippines to have economic prosperity, and the benefits will eventually trickle down to citizens' benefits.